Picture this. A massive alien chef stands in the center of a galactic cooking arena. His 6 arms wave dismissively at the human delegation. "Your species eats poison for pleasure," he sneers. The crowd of 1,000 alien species erupts in laughter. Earth's culinary traditions are officially a joke. Our food, considered primitive, dangerous, barely edible. For 3 standard cycles, humanity has endured this mockery. Every dish we present gets torn apart by critics from across the stars. They call our spices chemical warfare. They label our cooking methods survival desperation. One alien food columnist even wrote that human cuisine proves we're still evolving. But on this particular day, something changes. A 67-year-old woman named Dolores Venkman steps forward. She's not a trained chef. She's never attended a culinary academy. She's a grandmother from Kansas who runs a small diner on the edge of nowhere. And she's brought one dish, a casserole. The alien chef, Commander Zephros of the thermal caste, literally laughs so hard his breathing vents flutter. "A casserole," he roars. "You bring me cafeteria food." Dolores sets down her dish without a word. She adjusts her reading glasses. She smooths her apron, and she says 5 words that silence the entire arena. "Then taste it and see." What happens next doesn't just shock the Galactic Culinary Federation. It rewrites their entire understanding of what food can be. Within minutes, Zephros is on his knees. Within hours, Earth's cuisine becomes the most requested in 7 sectors. Within days, human cooking techniques are being studied like ancient war strategies. This is the story of how one grandmother's casserole brought an alien empire to its knees. And it all started with mockery. Let's back up and understand how Earth got here. First contact happened 17 years ago. Humanity joined the Galactic Council as a junior member. We were excited to share our culture, our art, our music, our technology. But most of all, our food. Every culture in human history has bonded over meals. We assumed aliens would be the same. We were wrong. See, the Galactic Culinary Federation has strict rules. They rank every species' cuisine on something called the Refinement Index. It measures complexity, safety, nutritional efficiency, and cultural sophistication. Human food scored a 2.3 out of 100. That's lower than the Drexian algae paste. That's barely above emergency rations. Why? 3 main reasons. First, capsaicin. You know that burning feeling when you eat hot peppers. That's a neurotoxin. Humans are the only known species that consume neurotoxins recreationally. To aliens, this looks insane. One counselor compared it to huffing engine coolant for entertainment. Second, our cooking methods. We burn things, we char them, we expose food to open flame. Most advanced species use molecular gastronomy. They rearrange food at the atomic level for perfect nutrition. Humans? We throw a steak on a fire and call it dinner. The Federation considers this barely controlled combustion. Third, our tolerance for danger. We eat fermented foods, aged cheeses, cured meats. We let bacteria grow on purpose. We consume things that are actively decomposing. One alien health inspector reportedly fainted during a tour of a cheese cave in France. He thought it was a biological weapon facility. For 3 years, Earth tried to change their minds. We sent our best chefs to the annual Galactic Culinary Summit. First year, Chef Antonio Rossi brought a 37-course Italian feast. The judges couldn't get past the garlic. Apparently, sulfur compounds register as industrial waste to most species. Second year, Chef Keiko Yamada presented traditional kaiseki. Beautiful presentation, perfect technique. But the fermented miso triggered 17 different biological alarms. Security evacuated the building. Third year, Chef Jean-Pierre Moreau tried molecular gastronomy. He figured he'd meet them on their turf. The judges gave him a 3.1. Better, but still insulting. That's when the mockery really started. Commander Zephros began hosting a segment on the Federation's most popular broadcast network. It was called Deathworld Delicacies. Every episode, he'd try human food and dramatically suffer through it. He'd gasp, choke, stagger around his studio kitchen. "This is what they call flavor," he'd shout, his thermal plates glowing red with disgust. The show had 40 billion viewers across 200 worlds. Earth became the laughingstock of the galaxy. Tourism to our planet dropped. Trade deals stalled. Alien diplomats started bringing their own food to meetings on Earth. They didn't trust our restaurants. One ambassador reportedly wore a filtration mask to a state dinner in Tokyo. Humanity was humiliated. But here's what the Federation didn't understand. Here's what Commander Zephros and his billion fans missed completely. Humans don't cook for efficiency. We don't eat for pure nutrition. We cook with memory, with emotion, with love. And when you insult that, you wake up something fierce. Enter Dolores Venkman. Now here's where things get really interesting. Dolores didn't apply for the Galactic Summit. She was nominated by her grandson, Private First Class Eddie Venkman. Eddie served on the Human-Alien Joint Defense Station orbiting Neptune. He'd watched Deathworld Delicacies with his alien crewmates. Every episode made his blood boil. But one night, something specific set him off. Zephros held up a photo of Dolores's diner. "Look at this primitive establishment," he sneered. "They serve something called comfort food." He said it like it was a disease. "Comfort food," he repeated, his mandibles clicking with amusement. As if cuisine should make you comfortable. How pathetically simple. Eddie had grown up eating at that diner. After his parents died, Dolores raised him in the apartment above it. Every meal she made carried love in every bite. Her chicken and dumplings got him through grief. Her casseroles celebrated every achievement. Her pies marked every holiday. That food wasn't primitive, it was powerful. So Eddie did something bold. He entered his grandmother into the summit under the open challenge rule. It's an old Federation law, rarely used. Any sentient being can challenge a sitting culinary master. If the challenger wins, they earn a Federation ranking. If they lose, their species drops another full point. Earth's cuisine would fall to 1.3. That's below synthetic prison rations. The Council tried to stop it. "She's not a trained chef," they argued. "She runs a diner in a town of 800 people. This will be a massacre." But the law was clear, and Zephros, he loved the idea. "Let her come," he announced on his show. "Let Earth send their very best grandmothers. I'll show the galaxy exactly what human cooking is worth." The episode got 60 billion views. Dolores found out about the challenge from a news crew that showed up at her diner. She was 67 years old. She'd never left Kansas. She'd certainly never left Earth. But when they told her what Zephros had said about comfort food, about her diner, about her life's work, she set down her coffee and said, "Book the flight." 3 weeks later, she arrived at Terminus Station. The summit is held in a massive arena that seats 500,000 beings. Dolores walked out carrying a single covered dish. No assistants, no fancy equipment, no molecular gastronomy tools, just her, an apron, and a casserole. The crowd went silent. Then they started laughing. Zephros stood at his station, all 6 arms crossed. His cooking area covered 200 square meters. He had quantum ovens, precision temperature lasers, and a staff of 12 apprentices. Dolores had a dish she'd made in her hotel room's food prep unit. "This is what Earth sends," Zephros boomed. "A grandmother with a covered plate." Dolores didn't respond. She set her casserole on the judging table. The rules were simple. 5 judges, all different species, all certified by the Federation. They would taste both dishes blind. Highest score wins. Zephros went first. He prepared something called thermal, symphony. It took him 4 hours. He restructured protein chains. He infused crystalline flavor matrices. He created edible holograms that played music as you ate them. The judges tasted it in reverent silence. Scores came back: 94, 96, 93, 95, 97. Average: 95 out of 100, the highest score recorded in summit history. The crowd erupted. Zephros bowed deeply, his thermal plates glowing with pride. Then Dolores removed the cover from her dish. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The casserole didn't look impressive. It was a standard 9-13 pan, golden brown top with slightly crispy edges. Steam rose in lazy spirals. It smelled like butter, herbs, and something savory the aliens couldn't identify. One judge, a crystalline being named Threx, leaned back. "Is it safe?" he asked. Dolores nodded. "Been making it for 40 years. Nobody's died yet." Threx hesitated. The other judges exchanged glances. Finally, the head judge, Ambassador Quillen of the Verdant Collective, took the first bite. What happened next shocked everyone. Quillen's bioluminescent patches began to pulse. Not in alarm. In waves of deep, slow color, blue to violet to a warm golden green. In his species, this indicated profound emotional resonance. He took another bite. His hands trembled slightly. "What is this?" he whispered. Dolores smiled. "Chicken and rice casserole. My grandmother's recipe." "What did you put in it?" "Chicken thighs, long grain rice, cream of mushroom soup, some onions, celery, a little garlic, butter, thyme, black pepper, baked at 350 for about an hour." The second judge tasted it. Then the third. Then Threx, who'd been so worried about safety. Something extraordinary happened. None of them spoke. They just ate. In culinary judging, you take 1 bite for analysis. Maybe 2 if something is unusual. These judges finished their portions. Then they looked at the casserole like they wanted more. Zephros noticed the silence. His thermal plates shifted from pride glow to confusion flicker. "Well?" he demanded. "What's the score?" Ambassador Quillen looked up. His eyes were literally glowing. "This dish," he said slowly, "has triggered memory centers in my neural network I didn't know existed." Threx nodded. "I'm experiencing something my species calls deep recognition. We usually only feel it during bonding ceremonies." The third judge, a floating gas being named Whisper, spoke through her translation device. "I am detecting emotional resonance patterns that match what we call ancestral comfort. This food contains something beyond nutrition." Zephros laughed nervously. "You're being ridiculous. It's simple ingredients, basic technique. There's no molecular complexity at all." "Exactly," Quillen said. He stood up. "Commander Zephros, your dish was a technical masterpiece. The precision was flawless. The innovation remarkable." "But," Zephros asked, "but I felt nothing." The arena went dead silent. "I consumed it," Quillen continued. "I analyzed it. I appreciated the skill, but it didn't touch me. This," he gestured at Dolores' casserole, "this made me remember things, feel things. It created an experience beyond taste." Here's what was happening. The Federation had spent centuries perfecting food as science. Perfect nutrition, perfect safety, perfect efficiency. But they'd lost something crucial. They'd forgotten that eating is about more than molecules. Dolores' casserole wasn't technically impressive. The ingredients were simple. The method was basic. But she'd made it with 40 years of practice. She'd perfected the ratio of cream to rice, so every bite was creamy but not soupy. She'd learned exactly when to add the butter so the top crisped just right. She'd timed the baking so the chicken stayed tender while the edges got that golden crunch. And here's the secret ingredient nobody expected: intent. Dolores made that casserole the same way she'd made thousands before it. She made it for her family, for comfort, for love. Even though she was millions of miles from home, cooking for alien judges who'd mocked her entire planet. She made it like she was feeding her grandson after a hard day. That intent? It changed everything. Humans have been cooking with emotion for 300,000 years. We put feelings into food, joy into celebration cakes, comfort into soup for the sick, love into holiday meals. We don't just feed bodies, we feed souls. The aliens had evolved past this. They'd optimized it away, and they'd forgotten what they lost. Until a 67-year-old grandmother reminded them. The judges conferred for exactly 4 minutes. Then they displayed the scores. 98, 99, 97, 199. Average, 98.6. The highest score in Federation history. By more than 3 full points, the arena erupted in chaos. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. Zephros refused to accept it. "Impossible," he roared. "The scoring system is corrupted. This violates every principle of advanced cuisine." Ambassador Quillen raised one delicate hand. "Commander, the scores stand, but more importantly, we need to discuss what just happened here." He turned to address the entire arena. For 800 years, the Galactic Culinary Federation has operated on a fundamental assumption. We believed that advanced cooking meant complexity, precision, molecular perfection. His bioluminescent patches pulsed slowly. We were wrong. The crowd erupted. Quillen continued over the noise. "Humans call their planet a death world. They're correct. Earth is a nightmare of biological hazards, unstable weather, and evolutionary pressures." But here's what we missed. Humans didn't just survive their planet. They thrived by bonding with each other, and their primary bonding mechanism is shared meals. He pulled up a holographic display. Archaeological data scrolled past. Humans have been cooking together for 300,000 years, sitting around fires, sharing food, building community through cuisine. Every major human civilization organized around communal eating. Every significant human relationship involves sharing meals. They don't cook to survive. They cook to connect. A scientist in the crowd stood up. "Ambassador, are you saying human food contains measurable emotional resonance?" "That's exactly what I'm saying." Quillen displayed brain scans. "We tested this. When subjects from various species consumed the casserole, their neural patterns showed activity in emotional processing centers, memory centers, social bonding centers. Commander Zephros' dish activated taste and nutritional assessment only. The human dish activated something deeper." Threx spoke up. "This explains the comfort food phenomenon we've mocked. It's not primitive. It's sophisticated emotional engineering." Another judge added, "Humans have been practicing a form of psychological cuisine for millennia. They just didn't have the scientific vocabulary to describe it." Dolores stood quietly through all of this. Finally, someone asked her directly, "Mrs. Venkman, did you know your food would have this effect?" She shrugged. "I just know that when my grandson was sad, this casserole made him feel better. When my neighbors were grieving, bringing them food helped. When my community celebrated, we did it with meals. I don't know the science. I just know it works." That's when Zephros did something unexpected. He approached Dolores' station. His thermal plates had gone completely neutral, a sign of uncertainty in his species. "May I taste it?" he asked quietly. Dolores nodded. "There's plenty." She served him a portion. The entire arena watched. Zephros took a bite. His 6 arms went still. His eyes, all 4 of them, widened. He took another bite, then another. Finally, he set down his utensil. "This reminds me of growing up in the thermal vents," he said, softly. "We would gather around the heat sources, share minerals we'd found. It was the only time my clutch family felt safe." His voice cracked slightly. I haven't thought about that in 40 solar cycles. Dolores patted his massive forearm. That's what food is supposed to do, honey. In that moment, everything changed. The Federation had been ranking cuisine wrong. They'd measured technique and ignored impact. They'd perfected nutrition but forgotten nourishment. They'd optimized flavor but lost feeling. Humans hadn't failed at advanced cooking. They'd preserved something ancient and irreplaceable, something the rest of the galaxy had evolved past. And now, they wanted it back. Within minutes, the Federation Council called an emergency session. Within hours, they were rewriting the refinement index. New categories appeared: emotional resonance, cultural memory integration, social bonding potential. When they rescored human cuisine with the updated system, Earth jumped from 2.3 to 89.4. Top 10 in the known galaxy. But the scoring didn't matter anymore. What mattered was this. 67 worlds immediately requested human culinary consultants. 200 more requested recipes. Ambassador Quillen proposed a new Federation initiative, the Cultural Cuisine Preservation Project, to study and protect cooking traditions that carried emotional wisdom. Dolores became the director. So what does all this mean for us today? The Dolores incident, that's what they call it now, changed galactic culture permanently. Let's break down what happened next. First, human restaurants exploded across the galaxy. Within 6 months, there were human-run diners on 43 different worlds. These weren't fancy establishments. They were small family places serving simple food: casseroles, stews, roasted meat, fresh bread. The kind of food humans had been mocking themselves for centuries as unsophisticated. Aliens traveled light years to eat there. Why? Because they'd forgotten what it felt like to eat something made with care instead of precision. One Drexian businessman reportedly broke down crying over a bowl of chicken noodle soup. He said it reminded him of his parent unit nurturing him through illness as a young larvae. His species had abandoned homemade food 600 years ago. Second, the comfort food movement spread to other species. Aliens started researching their own culinary histories. Before industrialization, before molecular gastronomy, before optimization, the Verdant Collective discovered their ancestors used to sing while preparing meals. The songs carried growing instructions and emotional intentions. They'd eliminated this practice as inefficient millennia ago. Now they're bringing it back. The thermal cast found ancient records of communal heat cooking. Families would gather around thermal vents and slow-cook crystalline minerals together. The process took days. It was wasteful, but it built bonds. Commander Zephros himself opened the first traditional thermal vent kitchen in 800 years. Third, scientific research exploded. The Federation established the Institute for Emotional Cuisine. Hundreds of xenobiologists, psychologists, and chefs working together. They discovered something fascinating. Nearly every species that achieves space travel goes through the same pattern. Early development, food is scarce, cooking is survival. Meals are communal by necessity. Middle development, food becomes stable. Cooking becomes cultural. Meals are social bonding. Late development, food becomes optimized. Cooking becomes scientific. Meals become efficiency. And in late development, something breaks. Mental health issues rise. Social bonds weaken. Depression spreads. The species becomes advanced but isolated. Humans never fully made that last transition. Yes, we have processed food. Yes, we have industrial agriculture, but we kept cooking for each other. We kept Sunday dinners, holiday meals, birthday cakes. We kept the emotional connection alive, and that made us stronger, not weaker. Fourth, the economic impact was massive. Earth's culinary exports became a top 5 industry, not just food, cookbooks, cooking classes, family recipes. Aliens paid premium prices for authentic emotional cuisine experiences. Dolores's original casserole recipe sold for 2.4 million Federation credits. She donated every credit to culinary schools on Earth. Fifth, diplomatic relations transformed. Previously, aliens brought their own food to Earth. They didn't trust our restaurants. Now, state dinners became powerful diplomatic tools. When the Drexian premier visited Earth, President Liu served him a home-cooked meal. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, apple pie. The premier later said it was the most meaningful diplomatic experience of his 200-year career. Food became a way to build trust across species. But here's the personal takeaway. This story isn't just about aliens and space stations. It's about something we've all experienced. We live in a world obsessed with optimization, meal replacement drinks, efficient calories, nutritionally complete powders. We're told that cooking is inefficient, that eating together is a waste of time, that emotional attachment to food is irrational. But Dolores proved something important. The inefficient parts, they're the most valuable. The time spent cooking for someone you love isn't wasted. The emotion you put into a meal isn't irrational. The memories built around a dinner table aren't primitive. They're what make us human. And apparently, they're what the rest of the galaxy wishes they'd kept. Every time you cook for someone, every time you share a meal with family or friends, every time you put love into food instead of just nutrients, you're doing something profound. You're practicing emotional engineering that took 300,000 years to perfect. You're creating bonds that optimization can never replicate. You're making something that advanced civilizations lost and desperately want back. That casserole your grandmother makes, that family recipe passed down for generations, that comfort food you crave when you're sad. That's not primitive, that's powerful. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. There's a secret Dolores kept for 3 years after the summit. She only revealed it in an interview last month. Remember how she made that casserole in her hotel room? She was terrified. Not of losing, not of the mockery. She was afraid she'd forgotten the recipe. See, Dolores had made that casserole thousands of times, but she'd never written it down. It was all feel, muscle memory, instinct. A pinch of this, a handful of that, until it looks right. The night before the summit, she panicked. What if the ingredients were different off Earth? What if the oven temperature was wrong? What if she couldn't recreate it without her own kitchen? She almost withdrew. But then she called her grandson Eddie. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted. Eddie said something that changed everything. "Grandma, you're not making it for judges. You're making it for me. Make it like I'm coming home and need comfort. Make it like you always have." So she did. She closed her eyes and imagined Eddie walking through her diner door, tired from training, homesick, needing something familiar. She made the casserole for him, not for alien judges, not for galactic rankings, not for Earth's reputation, for her grandson. That's why it worked. That's why it scored higher than any technically perfect dish. Because she cooked with love, not strategy. She cooked with memory, not formula. She cooked like a grandmother, not a competitor. Here's what this reveals about the entire story. The Federation judges didn't just taste good food, they tasted intention. They experienced what it feels like when someone cooks for you, not at you. When Dolores made that casserole, she wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was trying to comfort someone she loved, and somehow that emotion transferred. It crossed species barriers, cultural differences, biological incompatibilities. Love in food is universal. Scientists are still studying how this works. Current theory, intention affects micro-decisions in cooking. How long you stir, when you add ingredients, how you season. These tiny choices create subtle variations in texture, flavor, and aroma. When you cook with care, You unconsciously optimize for comfort rather than perfection. And living beings, regardless of species, can sense that. We evolve to recognize when someone is nurturing us. It's a survival trait, and it transcends evolution's boundaries. Today, Dolores is 70 years old. She still runs her diner in Kansas, but 3 days a week, she teaches cooking classes via hologram to students across 80 worlds. She doesn't teach recipes. She teaches intention. Cook like you're feeding someone you love, she tells them. The technique will follow. Her students include former molecular gastronomy masters, chefs who've trained for decades in precision cuisine. They're learning to feel again, to cook with their hearts instead of their tools. Commander Zephros is one of her students. He appears on her show, Cooking Across the Stars, once a month. He's learning to make biscuits. It's taken him 6 months. They keep coming out wrong, he admits in episode 47. Too dense, too dry. Dolores smiles. That's because you're measuring everything. Stop measuring. Feel the dough. It'll tell you what it needs. In episode 52, Zephros finally makes a perfect biscuit. His thermal plates glow with joy. I made this, he whispers. Not my equipment, not my precision tools, me. Dolores pats his arm. Now you're cooking. The galaxy learned something from a grandmother's casserole. The most advanced thing you can do isn't always the most complex. Sometimes the most sophisticated choice is the simple one made with love. If this opened your eyes, let's recap what we've discovered. A 67-year-old grandmother defeated the galaxy's greatest chef with a simple casserole and exposed a truth that changed an entire civilization. Humans preserved something precious that advanced species lost: the ability to cook with emotion, intention, and love. What aliens mocked as primitive was actually sophisticated emotional engineering perfected over 300,000 years. And the simple act of cooking for someone you care about. That's more powerful than any molecular gastronomy technique. Here's what I want you to take from this story. Next time you cook, whether it's a fancy meal or just scrambled eggs, do it with intention. Think about who you're feeding. Put care into it. Don't worry about perfect technique or Instagram-worthy presentation. Cook like you're feeding someone you love, because that's what changes everything. If you enjoyed this story of how humanity surprised the galaxy, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into HFY stories every week. Tales of humans doing the impossible, surviving the unsurvivable, and teaching ancient civilizations new lessons. Drop a like if Dolores is your new hero. And here's my question for you in the comments. What's your comfort food? What's that one dish that makes you feel at home no matter where you are? Is it your grandmother's soup? Your dad's grilled cheese? That specific meal that carries memories? Share it below. I read every comment. And who knows? Maybe a comfort food story could be the next video. Now, if you want to go deeper into humanity's unexpected strengths in the galaxy, I've got the perfect video for you next. It's about the time humans introduced the concept of spite to alien warfare. The aliens thought they understood human military tactics. They studied our strategies, our weapons, our training. But they never accounted for humanity's ability to win battles purely because someone said we couldn't. One human sergeant named Tessa Kowalski held off an entire Kryn battalion for 3 days. Not because she had superior firepower. Not because she had backup coming, but because a Kryn commander told her she'd never last an hour. That story is linked on your screen right now. Trust me, if you like this one, you'll love that. Before you go, here's one more thing to think about. Dolores didn't set out to change galactic culture. She just wanted to defend something she loved, her food, her traditions, her life's work. And by standing up for what mattered to her, she transformed civilization. That's the power of authenticity. When you stop trying to be what others expect and start being genuinely yourself, that's when real change happens. The galaxy didn't need another molecular gastronomy expert. They needed someone real, someone who cooked with heart instead of algorithms. You have something like that too. Some skill, tradition, or way of doing things that seems ordinary to you but is actually extraordinary. Maybe it's how you support your friends. Maybe it's your work ethic. Maybe it's your ability to find humor in dark times. Whatever it is, own it. Because what makes you unsophisticated by someone else's standards might be exactly what the world needs. Dolores proved that. She didn't try to compete on their terms. She competed on hers, and she won. So here's your mission. Make your comfort food this week. Cook it for someone you care about. Put intention into it. And remember, you're not just feeding them. You're practicing an ancient art that connects souls across time and space. You're doing something even advanced aliens envy. You're cooking like a human. And that's the most powerful thing in the galaxy. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And remember, never let anyone tell you that simple means weak. Sometimes the simplest things are the strongest. See you in the next one.